Hey everybody. All right, so who already has a podcast? Tamika has one because she just launched it. We're gonna talk about hers. So how long? We talked a little about yours. You've had yours for 3 years, right? How long have you had yours?
Yeah, about 2-3 years.
Okay. And how frequently does it come out?
I'm on a break now, but I've got maybe 60 episodes. It was dropping every other week.
Okay, good.
Mine's every week.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a lot. And yours is an interview podcast. Is yours an interview or?
It was kind of everything. I would have guests occasionally, but mostly it was just me.
Yeah. Cool. How about you?
Mine is a year. It's not an interview podcast, once a month, and I have not dropped for 2026.
Okay. All right. That's all right. It's only the beginning of February, so you can take a break. All right, you're up to order. And who wants to start a podcast? I know, Barbara. You've been thinking about it too. I know, that's a good. Yeah. Would you say? Be Fabulous would be the name. Yeah. Exactly. So. There we go. How many people feel like when it comes to your marketing, you're a little bit like this? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. How the heck do I find the people who might buy for me? What the heck am I supposed to do, right? And that's a very common thing. Starting your own business is super overwhelming. And there are so many different options, and there are so many business coaches like me who are out there telling you, you need to be on Instagram 5 times a day, right? Or you need to be doing this 5 times a day. And there's so many people who are coaching us on things to do in marketing, but they're giving you kind of one-size-fits-all solutions, right? And it really needs to be custom just for you.
Yeah, that's a good picture.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly how it is.
And then add to that, yes, it's so true, right? That is exactly how we feel. And then add to that the fact that people need to see your message at least 7 times before they're even willing to consider buying from you. And this is a very old adage, but it still holds. I haven't seen any other research that is better, so we leave it. But Tony Robbins is claiming that it's like 30 now, but people need to see your message over and over and over again. And so, how many people have posted something and you're like, I spent 5 hours putting together that post and it's going to change everyone's lives and no one sees it, right? It happens all the time. It happens to everyone. It happens to everyone, right? Taylor Swift and what's his name break up and no one's paying attention to anything. No, I don't know. She's like, oh my God, they broke up.
Claire, you would have heard about that. The whole world would have. The whole world would have stopped.
Have I been under a rock?
I know. Or I used to use the joke that they get engaged, but then they did, and so it doesn't count anymore.
Yeah.
So we all are struggling, but you need to have people see your message at least 7 times before they're even willing to consider buying from you. So the volume of things you need to do is very high. And you want to be in lots of different places. So I've been in marketing for 30 years, and we, in any kind of corporate marketing, always talk about integrated marketing. And that's the idea that you can't just do a billboard, or you can't just do social media, or you can't just do one thing. You need to find your people in all the different places where they hang out and give them your message in all those different places, right? So, for example, I did a lot of B2B marketing in super techie places with geeky people selling other geeky products to geeky people, right? And we would do like trade shows, PR in the industry magazines, ads in the industry magazines. We would do like in-person visits. We would do webinars, right? We'd have our website. So there would be we'd have this integrated communications plan, because you can't just do one thing, because to get to this 7 number, it's real hard. And then if you're trying to only do that on social media, it's even harder, because now you have the algorithm like always working against you.
Yeah, I know.
Darn it. So what you need is to have repetition and consistency. but that can be really overwhelming when you're all by yourself, right? Is everybody here a solopreneur, or pretty much kind of a solopreneur? Like, might have somebody, like, we all kind of have an admin somewhere, but being a solopreneur, finding a way to have that repetition and consistency can be really challenging. So we end up feeling like this.
That is, where do you get your pictures?
I know. I've been playing around with pictures. Do we like it?
Yeah.
We feel like this, right? We feel like completely overwhelmed and like, what the heck should I be doing? And there's too much going on. And
That is true.
burnout is a thing, right? I have really been struggling with burnout for about the last 6 months, like, full disclosure. And even though I have really good marketing systems, right? For me, it's, some of the other things where I need more systems. And so burnout is a thing, right? I think we've all struggled with it at some point in our careers, right? At some point in our businesses where we're like, this is just too much for me. And one of the things that I really realized is that systems can make a huge difference. And I am the last person to stand in front of you and talk about systems and operations and all that. Like, I'm a creative. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff. Like, that is like, wah, wah. So if I'm up here saying it, it means something. And I'll tell you how I kind of came to that conclusion. So at the end of 2024, I started my Your Marketing Mentor podcast. So I had been going live for every week, every other week for about 3 years. And I was like, hey, why don't I make this into a podcast, right? No different. I'm still showing up on video, but now I can put it on the podcasting places. So that sounds like a good idea. So I'd already had another podcast and I had sunsetted it, and I was like, let's do this. So I started recording this one video, and I hired somebody who does all of my editing for me. And I'm like, hey, take this one video and I want you to put it on YouTube, and then I want you to put it on all the podcasting places. And then I was like, well, this is really good content, right? Like, I spent all this time. Why don't I take that and use it for a blog post? Okay, well, now my blog's going. Well, I could also use that as an email to my base. So I used it for an email to my base. And then I was like, hey, I could use this for social media content. Not only like saying that it's out there, but chopping it into pieces of the little, the one or two smart things I said during the podcast, chopping those up and putting those out as social media. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I showed up and did one video, and now I've got all this content just from that one thing. And it took all the pressure off me, because I was doing oh crap, what am I gonna post? Oh crap, what am I gonna post? Oh crap, what am I gonna post, right? We've all done that, right? Oh my God, I gotta post something today. What am I gonna post? I don't look good. I don't wanna do it, right? And so it took all of that away, because I could say, okay, once a month, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do 2 videos, or however many I'm gonna do, and that's all my content. So that becomes the center of my content, and it made my marketing so much easier. So through 2025, I grew, I think it was 30%. And it was all from the only marketing I did in all of 2025, besides like, hey, here I am with people, was my podcast. And I also did that intentionally, because I was like, I wonder if this is gonna work. So then I can teach it to you guys. And it worked. And so I was like, this is a really interesting way to create a system around marketing, to create a machine around marketing that has one input and spits out a whole bunch of stuff. And so we can go through it tonight if you want, but I can actually take one podcast and make it into 88 pieces of content.
How long is the podcast that turns into 88 pieces of?
It can be 20 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't have to be hours. I mean, nobody really wants to listen to you for an hour anyway. I know Joe Rogan does it. He does these 3-hour. And if it's a conversation podcast, it generally can be a little bit longer. You have to be smart, right? And that's one of the things that I'm working on in this next year of my podcast, is trying to be smart about saying pithy little things, right, throughout that I can grab as video. The other thing is, I'm actually working with Liz's daughter. She is I have hired her to help me just stay up up to date on social media. She's an incredible social media manager, and I convinced her to be a coach for, my coach. So, one of the things that we're working on is Meta has said 3 reels per week, or 12 a month, and that's it. So if you do more than 12 reels a month, you put yourself into this like high content creator, or like you get in this next level of content creator. And if you take a break, it really hurts your algorithm. So I'm advising all my clients now, and I'm doing the same thing, 3 reels a week. So if you do a podcast every other week, and you can say 6 smart things that are less than a minute, then you have enough to create reels. And even if people are watching 10, 15 seconds of videos now, if you can just get little clips, right? And you can get 6 of them, right? So every other week, that's enough to fulfill all of your needs for social media, right? And that was my goal. And that really helps with this idea of burnout.
Get us out of burnout. Get us out of burnout.
Yeah, burnout's hard. So there's 2 things that you really need in your business, because I hate talking about systems without talking about strategy first. Because I was saying earlier that there are a lot of other coaches like me who stand up and say, like, you have to do it this way. And sometimes that's true, but you have to make sure that you have a very strong business and marketing strategy first before you make the decision about whether or not these things make sense for you. For a lot of businesses, podcasting isn't going to make sense, right? So you always want to start with your business strategy and your marketing strategy. And marketing strategy is, who am I talking to? What am I selling them? How much am I going to charge them? That's actually part of marketing. What do they know that they need, that they're willing to pay me for, that I can sell to them? Because that's a huge differentiator that a lot of us don't think about. We're always like, well, they need this. Like, if people only knew that they needed to eat something that gives you more estrogen, I don't know, I'm looking at Eleanor, or whatever, I don't know. You need to eat more broccoli. If they just ate more broccoli, then everything would be fine. Their problems would be solved. But you can't go out and market to people, go eat more broccoli, it's gonna make you feel so great. Because nobody wants to eat broccoli, maybe, right? They're not thinking I need to eat more broccoli. What they're thinking is, right, I'm cranky and my hormones are all over the place. And by the way, I have no idea if broccoli does anything for hormones. Eleanor is looking at me like, you're insane.
Awesome, I'm eating some tonight.
Right, we ordered broccoli for dinner, so that's why it was on the brain. But so what you need to do is talk to them from the perspective of where they are now, because people don't want to get off their couch and their wallet.
Yep.
Unless you talk to them about a problem that they know that they have, they're not going to want to buy from you. Once you get them in the door, then you can sell them the broccoli, right? So that's where your marketing strategy comes in, and your messaging strategy. And then, based on who you're talking to and what you're talking about, where do those people hang out that you can talk to them, right? Where do they hang out and get the kind of information that you need? So this is one of my favorite strategy things. So let's say you go to the dentist. Anybody who's worked with me has heard this example. Let's say you go to the dentist and they say you need a root canal. Sorry, you need a root canal. But we don't do those here. It's a specialty, right? You have to go see a specialist. So what's the first thing you do?
I get frustrated.
Well, you get frustrated.
I don't want to go to another person.
Yeah, you don't want to go to another person, but you're sitting in the chair and the dentist says you need to go see somebody else. What are you going to do?
Well, who do I go to?
Yeah. You're going to ask for a referral, right? 99% of the time. I mean, you might go to the car and Google, but you're going to ask your dentist. So if the people who do root canals, I think they're called endodontists.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I were doing the marketing strategy for an endodontist, I would say have a great Google My Business page so people can find you when they Google you. No social media, no billboards, no advertising. Don't bother. What I want you to do is spend all your time and all your marketing dollars sucking up to dentists.
Yeah.
Because if you can get the dentist to refer you, you will grow your business. So I want you to take all your time and all your money and send them birthday presents and send them coffee, right? So that's a really good example of a marketing strategy that like people, you have to really understand the flow of how people are going to hear about you before you, in order to work on that strategy. Where are people going to hear from you, and then how do I show up there? Okay. And that's why like a lot of people think, hey, I need to be on social media. You might not. These days you kind of have to have something, but that's a discussion for another time. And then you need systems, and systems are how you can be in all the places at once without spending all your time and all your money and being miserable. And having a podcast is really the only system that you need. I did it in my business. I absolutely believe in this as a essential strategy to get all the content you need and build that content system. So I've created this thing called the one-to-many content model. And it's this idea that you, with one podcast, so you record your podcast, and then you can have all of these things that come out of your podcast. So, excuse me, you start with a YouTube channel, you'll get YouTube Shorts, you'll be on all the podcasting networks, your blog, and Instagram posts, Instagram stories, Facebook personal, Facebook business, Facebook stories, LinkedIn newsletter. Oh, I have LinkedIn newsletter twice. Because it's really good, right? Right, Tamika? We need to do more for LinkedIn newsletters. LinkedIn posts, you can do posts on your personal page, on your business page, you can do a press release, you can do emails. There are so many different things that you can do by repurposing that content. So a podcast, again, is the best way that I've found to kind of systematize your marketing engine. If you have a business where content is important, where you're able to create content that will make good videos, which is true of most businesses. So it would allow you to build consistent touch points with audiences, reduce the last minute scramble. Anybody have last minute scramble? I totally get that. And you can reuse that podcast for content, giving you less stress, more predictability, and consistent brand amplification. So I wanted to share with you an example of how to do this. So this is Miss Tamika.
Anybody recognize?
If you didn't know. So Tamika just went through my Podcast Launch Lab course and has launched her new podcast. And so it's very early days, right? But the last episode, she actually featured me. She did a LinkedIn audit for me. So she's doing like live LinkedIn audits. So you'll get onto a call with her and she'll just, rip apart your LinkedIn page.
Oh, no, I mean your LinkedIn.
Yeah, your LinkedIn, which is great. It's great. I updated mine and I can tell you that I have gotten ridiculous amount of calls from recruiters because I updated mine and I was like, unexpected, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess it worked. Thanks, Tamika. It looks totally different than it did during our session. But this is a really good example of how to repurpose content. So she's got the episode, she's got 3 episodes now. This is her YouTube channel, so now it's on her YouTube channel. The episode, she's also got it on Facebook, probably on your personal and your business, but I just grabbed the personal. And the nice thing is if you have a guesting podcast, you can tag the other person and then it shows up on theirs, right? And we had 350 views on this on Facebook, which is awesome. Instagram, so it's on Instagram as well, right here. This is Spotify. This is Apple Podcasts. And then this is LinkedIn. You haven't done your LinkedIn newsletter, but I know it's coming.
Well, I did.
On this? Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, but this is a LinkedIn post. And then this is her website. So she's got the blog post. So we spent I don't know, an hour on the phone, probably longer than we needed to because we giggled a lot. And you were able to create all these points. Now imagine if on YouTube, she's also got shorts. So let's say she makes 6 reels, right? She'll get 6 more touch points on YouTube, 6 more touch points here and here and here. So it's pretty cool, all from one hour conversation. Hi, welcome.
So sorry.
No, we're glad you're here.
Traffic and I came from like the other side of the world.
No worries.
Mansfield.
Glad you're here. So does this kind of make sense as a process? Does anybody have any questions so far?
It more than makes sense. You just simplified my life. Because I've been working backwards. I've been chasing social media and all those things.
Yeah.
Like I said, I haven't dropped this whole year, but if I had created my podcast, I would be working from the podcast, which is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And my life would be, I would be working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people launch a podcast and then they don't do this with it, and so it's just like another thing on the list instead of it being the center. And so I actually presented at PodFest, which is the big podcasting conference, a few weeks ago, and did kind of a version of this because I was like, guys, you're missing it, right? You're missing the opportunity to take this podcast and use it as the center of your marketing engine. And we can dive into like all the different ways to do that here in a minute, but yeah.
When is your next podcast lab?
Oh, it's coming. We actually started last Friday, but you could catch up, or and I'll show you that in a minute. I'm making it into a standalone course, so you could, if you want to take it by yourself, you could take it by yourself. You could join the class if you want to join the class. We've only done one so far. And then I'll probably do it again in the fall with a group. It's been really hard to get everybody able to show up at the same time. And so this time, it was just difficult. So I have people who are like, well, can I take it, but I can't show up on Fridays, so I decided to just make it a course, and then you can upgrade to have one-on-one meetings with me throughout the course if you'd like, or you can also upgrade to have us do all of your branding and produce your first episode for you, produce your intro and your outro and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's what we did for Tamika. So we designed her thumbnail, like the surround on here. I don't have the actual video, but the surround for the video too. So, and it's nice to have that because you can just kind of hit the ground running. So there's kind of 2 different ways to start a podcast if you don't have one already. One is to DIY it, right? And the pro of that is that it's a lot less expensive, right? You take a course, learn how to do it, and it is a lot less expensive. I think, on an ongoing basis, you're probably spending Tamika, $40 a month, $50 a month for the tools, right? But you probably are already paying for Canva, right?
Yeah, I don't consider Canva.
Yeah, so Canva and the place where you upload the podcast to YouTube. And that's kind of it. Riverside, which is where I record in. Riverside's great.
I keep hearing about that.
Yeah.
Only 2.
Yeah, River. So it ends up being about $60 a month, so nothing, not crazy, but it does take time. 1, it takes time, and 2, there is a learning curve, right? And Tamika, you can speak to that. I think even though you sit in class and I show you what to do, and I find the tool to be very easy, but those things come very easy to me. I've been designing websites like in the code since right out of college, so these types of things are really easy to me. But I don't know, Tamika, of course, right as you take a bite. How hard has it been to learn on your own?
It has not been hard to learn on my own because Sherry is very thorough with her explanations and making sure that you can, there's videos you can watch that she has available in the class. The one-on-one sessions, she answers everything and then some. I think if it wasn't for her class, I wouldn't have one. Yeah. Just because it is daunting, but she makes it doable and fun, you know? So.
Okay, good. Yeah, but it can be a little bit of a learning curve, depending also on how tech savvy, how savvy you are with those kind of things. Yeah. Oh, she loved the checklist.
That's her love language.
Yeah.
Put it in your planner.
I made that just for Tamika because she was doing all the planner things at the Girl Cave, and I was like, this girl's gonna need a checklist. I know it right now. I've already got a list of what they're supposed to do. It's in a slide and it's in the class, but they're gonna want a checklist because you inspired me. So yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I didn't know Sherry when I started mine, but I did pay someone to do all the foundational things. So my first year, or actually 10 months of my first year, was completely ran by somebody else. I just went in and recorded the content, and that was primarily just me because I wanted to establish myself from a speaking standpoint. But then my podcast producer died suddenly.
Oh,
and so
yeah. Oh,
because
yeah. I didn't realize he was your producer.
Yeah, because I didn't want to drop. I wanted to keep my weekly drops.
Right.
I had to take it all on myself.
Yeah.
And I learned very quickly. Like, okay, I did it for probably 4 months or 3.5 months, and then I hired a podcast producer. So I manage all the content, or I provide the content, but they're doing these things that Sherry is saying. But I've been watching Sherry because I have a podcast. And so in 26, I'm dropping some content that I was consistently creating, and I'm now leveraging my podcast content more so that I can streamline. Because I was doing podcasts, once a week, and also a Monday motivation video every single week. I've been doing that for the last 4 years. I have hundreds of videos.
Yeah.
So but I'm ready to streamline. My efforts.
Yep.
So I have been watching. So.
Yeah.
It's noticeable.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's highlighting the other option, which is you just outsource it, right? And I've had some people who are like, I don't want to take the class. I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to learn it. I have zero interest in learning how to do these things. It's never going to be a positive, I'm just never going to do it. So you kind of have to know yourself too, right? There is a discipline to it, right? But it's the same of anything. Right, anything you do, right? Whether you decide you're going to work out or whatever,
I was just saying, it's not just producing; it's also booking your guests and preparing for your guests and researching your guests and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's just.
It can be, it's a worthwhile effort of your time from a systematic perspective, but there is effort to it. So yeah.
Is there a hybrid approach? Because if I think about myself and says, okay, I can do it on my own, but I need someone to walk along with me.
Yeah.
Like with training wheels, I have the training wheels, and then you said you can say, okay, you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
You're a hybrid.
Yeah. I mean, you could do if you wanted to work with me, you could do the class and then have one-on-ones with me. And then if you're like, hey, I want you to sit with me for the first couple, then we could always add on a couple other ones, right? Where you've got some sort of one-on-one coaching. Just to help you, help you through it, help you remember. Once you do it a couple times, you get the hang of it. But it just takes, again, it takes a little bit of time. It does take a little bit of time to do.
Take, an average before you start to see some results, because we believe as people start podcasts, they don't see any results, and after 6 months, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah, 90% of podcasts end after 18 episodes, or never make it past 18 episodes. So a lot of people do that, right? I mean, how many New Year's resolutions have you guys had that you didn't follow through on, right? It's the same kind of, it's the same kind of thing, right? Everybody's like, I'm gonna, do this, I'm gonna love it, and it's gonna be great, and they just get, they get overwhelmed or whatever. It is like any marketing, it is a long game.
Yeah.
And I can tell you as a marketing coach, I will never give you a get rich quick way of building your business, because you might get a lot of revenue right away. You're going to spend a lot of money to get it. So anytime I see those coaches who are like, I made $300,000 in 1 week, you're like, awesome. But how much money did you spend on Facebook ads to get that? Because they could have very well spent, $290,000 to get $300,000, and it's not worth it, right? And so you got to kind of go underneath the hood. So I'm a big believer in long-term organic growth. Yeah. So it takes a minute. But for me, I don't care how many people watch my full podcast. What I care about is that I have a systematic approach to creating lots of content that I'm going to be able to show up in all these different places, right? So that when I go to places like the Girl Cave and I walk in, people are like, oh my God, I see you everywhere, right? And they might not remember anything except red glasses and marketing, but they'll call me, right? It's interesting. This year's been a really interesting year so far. Almost every consult I've had have been people who are like, I've been following you for years, and now I'm ready.
Yeah.
Or I met you somewhere and I've been following you on social. And, are they watching my full episode? Probably not. Maybe every once in a while. Do I care? Not that much, right? So there is, and we go into this in depth in the podcast launch lab, like there's a strategy around that, right? Do I want people to watch all of it, or is it really just a way for me to create content that I can chop up? I get 10 to 100 times more views on the reels that I chop up than I do on the full episode. And I'm totally okay with that. Because at the end of the day, if my phone is ringing, because people are like, oh my God, I saw you on YouTube, and then I saw you, and then I saw you, and then I saw you at the Girl Cave, and then I saw you here, that's my metric. So sometimes we have to be a little careful of those vanity metrics, right? Because if you look at my YouTube metrics for my show, they're not great. But if you look at my social, it is, and my phone's ringing. So yeah.
I think that's one of the most important points that you just made, is that, and I like how you take the podcast and make it into so much more, because if our strategy is we need to put ourselves in places where people can hear it, it's not all in one place. But yes, there's a learning curve. Yes, you have to be consistent, but also you're not in this frantic everyday thinking of stuff. Now you can strategize weeks in advance or months in advance. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to break this is all of 1 month.
Yep.
And that makes sense to me, because some of the struggle sometimes between, you love to create, but also you have to have time for clients, and you have to have time to stop at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's not 10 o'clock. And it's creating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, to me, this is like, oh my God, it's telling me that the learning curve is scary, but at the same time, I've put off doing the podcast till later, even though I can't tell you how many people are saying, you need a podcast, you need a podcast. And now what you're saying makes sense. Oh, if I do it that way, so it's not one more thing on the list, but an actual way to take a lot of other things.
Right.
Right. Like, this helps replace a lot of things.
It's the thing on the list that creates all the other stuff, right?
Because you could even be planning it months in advance, and then plan, say, a live workshop that's on the same content.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even if it's you do the content in March and your live is in April, so you generated a lot of interest or whatever, but it becomes a complete strategy that is hard to have otherwise.
Yep.
I was just going to say, I spent maybe 20 minutes scheduling all my reels.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yep.
Wow. For the next few weeks?
Yeah, for the next few weeks. Yep. And I have people who come into my studio. I had a client come in. I have a studio in Plano, and we're doing all their podcast management and production for them. And they were trying to record at home, and it just wasn't they couldn't get in the flow. And so I'm like, just come into the studio and I'll sit with you, right? And they banged out 6 episodes, and then they also did a whole bunch of little reels, little audio, and then we're gonna put some B-roll on it, so just kind of stock. They're talking about finance, so it's a little bit boring. So we're gonna find some, some fun. But in 2 hours, 3 hours, right? They've got enough content to last them 4 months, right? And
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
You could actually pull podcasts from last year and not even create for the next few months.
yeah, you can totally pull old podcasts
Instead
to,
of what I do it right now.
yeah. And I have stuff like and especially if you're, something's going on in your life and you can't get to it, and we all have to take breaks.
Yeah.
Right? We all have to take breaks. But you can use, some of the episodes, you can repurpose things, right? There's always like, hey, can you eke out a couple more reels from what I had, or relaunch something, or I actually had someone in my studio and I was interviewing them for my Heart of the Hustle show. And they were like, well, I should interview you. And I was like, okay. And so just at the spur of the moment, we like switched chairs and they interviewed me. And I sat on the episode for like 6 months because I was like, whatever, it was something fun. But then the holidays came this last year, and I was like, and it dried up. Nobody wanted to come in, right? Nobody really wanted to be on the show, right? I didn't want to be in the show. It was the holidays. So I was like, ooh, I have that episode in my back pocket, and it gave me enough social content to get me through the holidays.
Wow.
Right? Because you're not going to post something every day in that scenario. It was my birthday's in early December, so I just made it like for my birthday, So you can create a couple if you can create an episode or two, you got them in, you have them in your back pocket, knowing that
Something's going to happen at some point.
yeah, something's going to happen at some point. Or you just say once a quarter, like my client did last week. We're going to come in once a quarter, and we're just going to go crazy. We're going to do a whole bunch all at once, right? And you can get all that done. And then for them, they're actually having a